Hello, my internet friends. Welcome to Walking and Talking, a show where I walk and talk. I guess what first came to my mind, how to start the low-hanging fruit of a way to start talking, would be to tell you how I'm feeling. I hadn't really thought about it actually until now. How am I feeling? Pretty much, more or less neutral, I'd say. Mildly amused. Glad to be here. But what beyond that? I mean, what is this all about anyways? What do you care about how I'm feeling? We never even met. That's not strictly true. We've met in some sort of sense. In this mediated way. But I asked that question of people, how are you, despite knowing that it's a strange question to ask. But, I mean, I think usually if somebody asks me how I am, it probably makes me feel a little bit better. Just the fact of them asking. The fact that somebody might care to know. So in light of that, yeah, how are you? Tell me how you are. Leave a comment saying how you are. However you interpret that question. None of the shitty comments. Come on. If you this time just put a little bit of thought into your comments, I'll read them this time. And to the extent that there are some questions with to the extent that there are some comments with a little bit of thought put into them, I'll feel that much more inclined to read your comments in the future. So I'm just asking, how are you? And I'm genuinely curious to know and how you interpret that. It could be how you are in the instant that I ask you. It could be how you are while in the process of typing your comment. It could be how you are in a more general sense over the past few days, or it could be, you know, a broader time span, like over the past year. But I tend to be interested in how all that relates to how you are, like, in this moment. I mean, not in this moment as much as in the moment of you replying, in the moment of you typing a comment, describing how you are. How are you in that moment? I just feel lucky to be able to do this. Walking and talking has changed a little bit. Over its lifespan. Like more lighthearted at the moment, at least right now. I feel a mild, humorous undertone beneath this whole thing, which really kind of gives it some levity. And it could use a little levity, you know what I'm saying? We could all probably deal with a little bit of levity. No, some people have too much. Some people have too much levity and then they don't have enough gravity. Or gravitas. Seriousness, you know, you need some kind of balance between seriousness and levity. Like I was gonna tell you, you should take life seriously, and I meant it, and then I was like, but not too seriously. I don't know. I mean, take life seriously in the sense that I don't even know what I mean by that. It's just kind of leading me towards a lot of kind of cliched platitudes. Like, live courageously. Whatever the hell that means. I don't know what the hell that means. It doesn't have any specific implications. Like, that would look differently for every single person. and everybody would have to interpret that very individualistically, very personally. Like, living courageously is probably, in nearly all cases, not going to look like anything you see in the movies. Because that stuff is a really ridiculous fiction. I mean, of course, we know that. That's what it's for, I guess. So that we can kind of reflect our inner struggles on these action movies in which one hero kills a million bad guys. Like Kill Bill. You ever seen that movie? I hated it. Oh my god, I hated that movie. And everybody that I went to see it with, all my friends, they loved it. We got out of the theater. We walked out of the theater, and my friends, I looked at each other, and they were like, "Whoa!" Like this mind blown look on their face, like, "Whoa!" And like, I thought that they were like, their mind was blown by how stupid that movie was. But it was the opposite. They're like, "That was awesome." And I'm like, what? That thing was stooping to the lowest common denominator. Every line in that movie is somebody saying the most badass one-liner you could possibly imagine. And then killing somebody in the most badass way you can imagine. And it's basically just like a pissing contest of badassery. And that's kind of what, that's kind of what most movies are like. How are we supposed to model our own lives on something like that? How are we supposed to derive any kind of spiritual food from such garbage? The answer is stop watching movies. Well, I mean, I watch some movies once in a while. But come on, watch something with a little bit of substance to it, for crying out loud. Watch The Holy Mountain by Jodorowsky. Watch Tarkovsky's Stalker. I mean, come on. Watch Koyaanisqatsi. I think to some people I must be coming across as like a pretty comical stereotype right now. But I'm okay with that. film buff. I can't even remember like the more obscure ones, the names of them. I'm just like trying to say some important things. Give you some important movies to watch. Maybe, or hopefully you're already familiar with them. You've seen them a million times already. You're like, okay, Ben, of course, everybody's seen The Holy Mountain a million times and Stalker a million times. What else you got for me? Let me see. I hope you can hear me with all the wind. Man, I'm forgetting the names of these movies. That's the problem. Interstellar, I like that one alright. I mean, as long as you can stomach the kind of like main protagonist, ultra noble everyman, you know, just sickeningly noble farmer dude. As long as you can stomach that. Hey, there's a groundhog. I thought it dealt with some interesting premises. What about this episode of Walking and Talking though? Have we sunk so low as to be like reviewing movies? Is that how far we've descended in Walking and Talking from its pure beginnings of being a markedly contentless YouTube series? I mean, it's still contentless in a sense. I mean, reviewing movies, you know, it's a pretty empty gesture. But I mean, so is everything. But that's kind of a cop-out. We still got to deal with what's important here. That's what makes these movies good. They're uncompromising. They deal with what's important, and not with just what pleases. Leisurely? Is this more leisurely than is appropriate for the urgency of the problems of the world? still plenty of time left. Hopefully depth will be revealed in the duration. AKA you. I reveal all before you. Maybe not all. I mean, I reveal all within this 4 hours. Before you. All that happens in this 4 hours. At a pretty leisurely pace, and I've been talking at a pretty leisurely pace. I wonder what happens if I speed up my walking a little bit. Going a little bit faster now. I'm trying to talk a little bit faster as well. It's refreshing to be here. The sensory input is refreshing. Up with the media equivalent of junk food. You know? There's a lot of good stuff on YouTube. You can fill your brain with all sorts of spiritual information. You can learn basically anything. realize that you have everything you need within you. And you gotta stop looking to YouTube for stuff. Like even me, at some point you gotta stop looking to me for help. But, maybe we can do that now. Like maybe we could just, in this moment, just kind of examine our relationship with each other. Like how comfortable you feel about stopping the video. Would you feel alone? Would you feel a void? Am I filling the void for you? What lies beneath this experience of you watching this video? I want for it to be a peaceful feeling. Time has passed. I think like a month passed without me uploading video. This month in which I was like kind of deeply questioning everything about myself, which is something that hasn't really stopped. But what was that month like for you? It's okay if it's like you wanted me to upload. I probably should have uploaded anyways. I probably just should keep revealing this self-questioning. Isn't that what walking and talking is half the time? If not all the time? I don't know. I'm saying you shouldn't depend on me, but I don't know. I'm glad you watch. I listen to most of the Sam Harris podcasts. We're very much in the worldly world today. We're talking about worldly things. They're YouTube-ly things. I'm saying how it's changed. I used to never really reference anything outside of observations about a very immediate perception. We've been talking about YouTube, we've been talking about this video, we've been talking about this series, we've been talking about your viewership. It's still very self-referential in a way. Whatever kind of concreteness that walking and talking has attained in our minds, now we're talking about it. Acknowledging that it seems like a thing now, a thing that can be changed, thing that can be interrupted, a thing that can be disturbed. I hope you can still hear me all right. I'm afraid to do no hands. Walking with no hands. Can't let go of the selfie stick. Well, this bike's, these shoes are kind of unstable. I don't want to lose my balance walking here. Have you noticed how fast and smoothly I'm walking today? That's what I was doing this month. I was practicing my walk. So now I can walk really fast and smooth like this. My right hand's holding the selfie stick. unmediated personality to hold attention? Is it just a poor substitute for actual friends? Or is it a really good substitute for shitty media? Maybe a little from column A, a little from column B. That's right. I call them as I see them. Is there like a slight coldness to my personality? I've always been thinking I could stand to be more warm. But I just can't be superficial though. I can't stomach it. But maybe it's possible to be warm without being superficial. But in conversation, I can't just talk to fill space. I can't do it. Only in walking and talking can I fill space with talking. Because you're not a captive audience. I have to do it in the extreme. So that in the sheer expanse of time filled with pointless talking, a sort of non-duality can emerge where it becomes apparent that it's both profound and inane, or super stupid, but somehow not. Maybe it'll get intense towards the end as I get tired. It's a slow intensity. I wonder if I can actually open this bottle of water without crashing. I mean, crashing, walking, crashing. Oops, I let go of the selfie stick with my right hand. Is there any way? How quiet it is. I'm just drinking water. All right, let's get back to walking. This is a popular show. Walking and talking. Look at me. I'm famous. Ben Bennett, am quasi-famous. What do you think about that? Do I deserve it? Do I deserve fame? What do you think? What do you imagine it's like to be me? Do you think it's more desirable than being you? I'm here to tell you it's probably not. it's like, to whatever extent, fame adds anything to my life, there's a whole like other like deficit that counterbalances it. Deficits in other areas. But neither of those things are really real beyond the extent that we create them in our minds. Like, there's no really like good thing in my life or bad thing in my life. And I don't know. On a certain level, there is. But it's more, I would say, that the broader pursuit that these YouTube videos are part of is what's good in my life. Well, that's something that I have to be actively doing. I don't like attain anything like, I can't like stop and retire. I can't stop and rest on my laurels. I can't just stop and enjoy some kind of like enlightened state or something that I've now permanently have. It's not really like that. I gotta keep working to have anything good in my life. I gotta keep working to, in order to feel joy. But it's actually not even that the feeling of joy is good. Oh my god. Sewage treatment plant. Smells wonderful. Oh yeah, we're gonna walk right by it. Personally, but other people. It's great to know. Walking uphill, it's hard. It's very quasi though. something like fame like occupies your mind as some supposed aspect of who you are, or like to the extent that it has any sort of mental solidity to you, it hinders it, it limits you. Well, it limits the like the more expansive possibilities for your consciousness. Well, it can. There's a very great risk of it. And it does for me sometimes, even as quasi as it is. Don't cling on to your success sort of thing. But on the other hand, I'm like, why not? Of course, there's a reason for success in the world. It's like, I don't know. And there's a million different interpretations of what success is, which you can self-define, which I think you actually have to self-define. Wow, strong sewage smell. People live here. I wonder if I imagine they just probably acclimate to the smell and then don't smell it anymore. I think that's what tends to happen. Value systems vary between cultures and between individuals, and so notions of success are going to value equally, are going to vary just as much. I keep wondering if, in what ways am I complacent? And I can't think of a few things in my life where I could be acting in a more righteous way. just know that these things just have an effect on the energy of my being. There are some changes just in my lifestyle and in my habits that I really would like to make that I think would kind of bolster my spirit, would make me a little bit more robust. A little more correctly aligned with karma. It just means I have to be a little bit less comfortable. And it's like, it has to do with how I relate kind of materially with the rest of the world. I didn't wear any sunscreen. That might suck a little tomorrow. Boy, we get to see so much more this way. Now with this very fast walking. Relatively at ease with you. I'm aware of your watchful eye and your hearful ear. Speaking is like a little bit lax or something, or my thinking is a little bit well, let's just say like the subject matter that I've been addressing and the tone in which I've been delivering doesn't strike me as super urgent today, or especially hard-hitting. maybe I've, you know, been like, maybe the tone of my life outside of this experience now is indicates to me that it should be more hard-hitting. To be reflective of the problems in the world. But I don't know, maybe it's alright to exist for some state in like this. Maybe we can accept this state that seems very ordinary. Maybe we don't actually need to always be feeling a drama that we think we should be. Maybe it's this, I don't know, it's this activity in this location aren't really like lending to this sense of drama or urgency. It's like tightened itself somehow. Here it comes. Are you getting a lot out of this? Slow TV? Narrated slow TV, slow mind TV, boring mind TV. That's what you could call this genre, boring mind TV. Maybe it's pretty to look at though. Better than my face. Is this work or is this leisure? Whatever it is, it's kind of slow in terms of talking. Why aren't I talking fast like I used to? What's up with this slightly callous tone in my voice? I don't know what this episode of Walking Talking is doing for us. Like, am I just producing passive subjects in you? Am I producing you as a passive subject? Watching this simulacrum? Or, in doing so, am I also slyly inserting subversive messages? That might plant a seed of liberation. I must not be. I think my life has gotten too comfortable. Like I've been seduced by little sensual comforts, you know? made a pie last night. And then I ate some pie, and then I had a little piece of pie for breakfast. And now I'm like, and now in one of these spaces, like I think I just, remember the pie. And then I'm like, shouldn't I have something more hard-hitting to talk about than the pie that I made? Doesn't seem to fit with the self-image that I have for myself that I would like to project of being some courageous spiritual warrior. It was a red bean pie. Have you ever had something like that? I cooked some Atsuki beans, till they were done, and I smashed them up with some dates and some honey until they were this thick paste, and that was the filling. And then I made a crust out of teff flour, and I put some powdered mugwort leaf and nettle leaf in the crust. I had foraged the nettle leaves and dried them out, and then I pulverized them into a powder. But the mugwort was something that I bought at a Korean grocery store, culinary mugwort. So I put those in the dough, and it made this green crust that I thought would go well with the red bean flavor. It is pretty good. I think the crust needs a little bit of adjustment. It came out a little bit too dry. But, that's the sort of thing that I feel like I shouldn't be doing. Like, why am I wasting my time making pies? I should always have my nose to the grindstone in some sense, right? I should always have my ego to the grindstone and not be filling the void with these sensual pleasures. Right? I mean, for goodness sake, it had dates and honey in it. We can't be allowing ourselves such, gratifying taste sensations. It'll weaken my soul. It'll erode my character. That's why this episode is so flabby in its content. I need more discipline. If I'm going to make a pie, every single ingredient should be foraged by me and processed by me. If there's going to be any kind of sweetener in it, it's got to be maple syrup that I tapped the maple trees myself and gathered the sap and carried all the buckets by hand to the cauldron, and I kept a fire burning for several days under the cauldron in order to evaporate the sap, make the syrup. Fire on logs that I split myself with an axe. Or if there's gonna be honey in the pie, then it's gotta be honey that I found in the wild and extracted from a wild beehive at the expense of getting hundreds of bee stings. Now the crust has to be made out of acorn flour, acorns which I gathered myself and bleached the tannins out of in a clear running stream of a clear mountain stream of water for several days. And the filling should not be made from any human cultivated fruits. It should only be made of wild berries that I gathered myself. If I want to have pie, I gotta earn it. And I must only have one sliver of pie and share the rest with others. Share the rest with a group of other spiritual warriors. And only reward them with a sliver of pie if they've gone through a grueling several-day meditation retreat. Or if they're working all day long to build a meditation pagoda with individual cells in which generations of people will become enlightened. And so the wild harvested pie will only serve to replenish their calories so that they can keep on constructing for the benefit of mankind and for the ultimate heightening of consciousness in the world. That's what I need to be doing. I can't just be like making these easy pies out of beans. Beans that I bought from the store. Can't be having that. I just thought it'd be interesting, Here in the town where I live, like bean pies are kind of a thing. People like these guys will stand at the intersection selling bean pies, or trying to sell bean pies to motorists. And they'll also be in gas stations. You can get a bean pie in a gas station, but then I looked at the ingredient list and I'm like, no effing way. I'll make one myself that has slightly more wholesome ingredients in it. But not wholesome enough. But who knows, maybe this maybe this like half sarcastic rant that I'm going on is in some way making some kind of amends. Will it ever repay the karmic debt that I owe to the world for the pleasure of that pie? Who knows? I haven't suffered as much as I haven't suffered in the course of that kind of karmic spiel to an equal extent that I enjoyed pleasure from the pine. I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of karmic debts to pay. Well, my legs are starting to get a little tired, so maybe that'll help. Start to even the score a little. Maybe the sunburn will help. Maybe I should be wearing a hair shirt. Maybe I should weave myself a hair shirt from my own hair and wear it for the rest of the walking and talking episodes. That's what some monks used to do, right? Pleasant here. A little too pleasant. A little too pleasant. But you're not supposed to seek out suffering. I believe that. it's not that you seek it out. You just you gotta not avoid a pain when it comes in the process of trying to do good. Am I doing good? I don't know. I wouldn't make any claims of that. But then am I just actually trying to do further good in my own mind, or am I trying to heighten the degree of good that I'm doing in my own mind by stating that I wouldn't make any claim to doing good? Am I just performing a certain kind of humbleness in order to aggrandize myself? It's really hot. Oops. I hope the wind noise isn't too bad. What do we do, you know? We gotta make our living. We gotta support ourselves. We gotta maintain our own, like, will and interest in living, you know? So we gotta have some form of joy. But then we also gotta, like, figure out how to not do harm in the process. And that's hard. It seems like every form of production is contributing to climate change. So how do you have a job and still be doing net positive in the world? How do you take care of your bodily needs without doing too much damage? Even me, you know, I'm gonna have to eat after this if I want to stay alive and well. I used to do a lot more dumpster diving, but now the dumpsters near where I live aren't that good anymore. Actually, the last time I went there, it was full of take and bake pizzas and egg and like pre-packaged eggplant parmesan, and I was just like, I knew that if I ate that stuff, I was not gonna feel good health-wise, and so I left it, hoping maybe there's somebody else who's like less nitpicky will find it, because I know other people go to that dumpster as well. There's a decent chance somebody else picked them up. I gotta not start rubbing my skin, because then all that like you know, black grime like starts to like, you ever do that where you like rub your skin and then like those little like rolls of like schmutz or whatever like come out? You know, if you're really sweaty. You're gonna not do that. Well, let's keep walking. I should probably just get back to sitting and smiling, huh? It kind of seems like that's more zeroed in on what I'm actually wanting to achieve. Maybe I will. I'm thinking about it. Even though it pisses more people off, which is fine. It weirds more people out, which is fine. switch up your view a little bit. It's kind of nice out here. Where's the challenge? Where's the spiritual challenge? I guess it's here. Where's the mental stasis? Where's the stillness? Where's the subtle non-duality? I don't know when the camera turned off. But here we are in the park. Seem to be experiencing some battery issues. So we'll see how far we make it. I would pretty much feel equivalent about hanging out in the parking lot of Cirque du Soleil for a couple hours. Compared with being inside that tent. Might even prefer hanging out in the parking lot. I wouldn't pay full ticket price to hang out in the parking lot. We're at the dope spot. I'll have to show you what I'm talking about. Oh man. I was gonna swim here, but there's a dude fishing. He's like casting his pole right where I was gonna dip in. That's okay. Probably better if I don't swim. Feel a little sunburnt already. Well, it looks like the battery pack is working. I don't know if this is as quite an appealing dipping spot. Where's the rigor? Where's the craftsmanship? We're lacking so much. I feel like I need the stillness back. But why? I don't know what I can do. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what to do to solve humanity's problems. Should I just try to get some kind of non-profit job? But I think it seems like a lot of people in that world experience disillusionment anyways. Like it's as if they find that the job itself is like kind of misaligned with the actual doing good part. Like there's so much stuff you have to do as part of the job that's actually maybe feels like it's doing more harm than good or something like that. Maybe a few people get lucky with their employment and feel like they can be giving to the world and also making a decent living. But think of all that I would have to do to get there. Think of all the moral compromises I would have to make. And then, wouldn't I just be locked into a standard consumeristic lifestyle anyhow? Should I just go volunteer at the homeless shelter and be a hospice volunteer? I mean, I guess that's like serving some people who need it, but maybe you need this just as much. I feel like I want to solve everything. I'm not enduring right now. I'm enduring something. But right now, this is kind of a video of me chilling. Boring Minds TV. This is like thinking about going back to sitting and smiling TV. Don't you love YouTube? hour. Walking uphill. See what you're missing? It's that pie, man. That pie made me complacent. I should be fasting. Gotta feel the void. Feel the hunger. Talking. glad that you're here. I can't tell if I am experiencing a struggle or an absence of struggle. Or if the absence of struggle is the struggle. Or if the notion of the importance of a struggle is the problem. It just seems so, but that there's something wanting here. There's some form of desire here, some form of unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. And it's not like there's not even any kind of intensity happening. It doesn't feel like there's any intensity of either like suffering or anything else. It feels too normal. You know what I'm saying? Like in a movie where it seems like there's nothing happening, so you feel a sense of foreboding. I don't feel a sense of foreboding actually at all. Just a very generalized sense of this here being not enough, of this experience being not enough. There should be more. There should be some kind of transformation happening, some kind of catharsis. Some interesting development, at least. Something more dramatic, like a thunderstorm. Or screaming. Like I should be screaming, or I should be having some kind of breakdown. I feel like I should be having, I feel like if I were having some form of emotional crisis or like borderline psychotic meltdown, that this would be better. But just like feeling normal feels like not enough. I can't really bring myself to act. I mean to act in the theatrical sense. make hard to watch YouTube videos. I should at least be, producing something like more intellectually stimulating. It's not even that. I wouldn't even say that this is interesting. What I'm saying, that is, the content of what I'm saying is not interesting. Is it because I'm resisting being interesting out of an idealism, out of an ideal? Or that I'm incapable, or is it just that I'm incapable of being interesting? I mean, I know that I'm making a judgment that is not necessarily mine to make. Because whether it's interesting depends on your subjective experience. I think I'm imagining, my imagination is projecting some various alternate forms of experience that I could be having right now, or maybe that I've had in the past, and creating a kind of fiction to them. My mind is creating kind of a fiction that I'm grasping towards. Of the desirability of something other than what's going on right now. That's a grand fiction. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not so sure about that. Like in a sociological sense, in a societal sense, it's like, yeah, obviously there's a lot of things we would like to change. I think, yeah, for sure. What do I do in my current situation? What can I do? Okay, I'll try to connect if I can. What I'm doing here to the ills of society. Because why not? It seems to me, and it would also seem to the philosopher Simone Weil, that doing harm to other people is a way for the perpetrator to avoid a certain kind of expenditure of energy, whether it's like emotional or material or whatever, or even existential or kind of karmic. Well, maybe not karmic, but you say you feel angry and so you say something hurtful to somebody. That act is a kind of lessening of the pain of anger for yourself by inflicting it onto somebody else. So you avoid expending some of the energy necessary to properly deal with that anger, which would entail diving into the anger and actually experiencing it fully and moving through it and experiencing the underlying void, the underlying emptiness of reality, and accepting that and being with it, to be in that emptiness rather than the emotional reaction to it of anger, and then worse, the kind of spreading of that onto other people. And it's the same way with like material relations. You know, someone could be feeling like a scarcity of material wealth, and so they alleviate that for themselves by stealing something from someone else, so that that scarcity just becomes transferred onto the other person. But this kind of thing happens a lot more in various forms of exploitation that are, you know, sometimes unlawful, sometimes very lawful. Economic exploitation, where you have a business and you try to extract as much value from people on every end of every transaction that you can. You try to give the least and take the most. And that comes from a kind of like a kind of feeling of well, you could call it greed, or maybe underlying that there's like a certain insecurity, but underlying all of those things, at the root of all of that is a kind of emptiness that you're trying to avoid by taking from the world. But those, like these particular perceptions, like the perception of scarcity or of danger, or of, like, you know, of the possibility of not having enough to get by or something, very often it's illusory. Very often it's kind of a hallucination that's like, that's built up over this general feeling of emptiness. So the task really that is at hand is to stop building up these emotional, conceptual, material structures over the emptiness. Stop avoiding the emptiness and just to look right into it. Look right into it and experience it and accept it and know that it's not really like, it's not the fearful end to you that you might think it would be. In fact, you can go into it and discover that by abiding in it, you can actually feel the biggest fullness. Even though it's not comfortable, but you go into it and you can experience the dissolution of all of the kind of structures of identity of yourself, all that you identified with, all your emotional attachments. You can feel a dissolution of those that is a very liberating feeling. And you know, it's not like it means like bad things are gonna happen to you in your life, like, oh hey dear, it doesn't mean like leaving your family or like becoming homeless or something like that. Like you're not really losing anything. But what it can do is give you the strength and the courage and a kind of deeper and more unshakable kind of security. It's not so much a security as like you realize that like you don't have so much, you don't have this big self to defend. Like in the innermost sense. You have a sort of unshakable spiritual security that can let you actually act more courageously in the world. And then you can reassess all the little actions that you make. Like every little action, like, is this harming someone or not? Is this harming the world in any small way? Is it benefiting the world in any small way? In a lot of cases, maybe it's doing some of both, but you got to figure out which are the actions that have more benefit than harm. So you have to have a kind of strength of spirit in order to be like, to feel compelled towards this type of action. Because if you just try to do good deeds, without it feeling like you are like just sort of, you're just, without it feeling like it's really just like the only thing that you like the thing that you have to do, without feeling just like compelled to do the good deed as if it were just a normal thing. It's like, if you're actually thinking about it as being a good deed in your mind, it's as if you're kind of compensating for something. You are conceiving of this deed as giving you a certain sort of like karmic benefit, and you're like imagining it as giving you some sort of benefit. But when you have like aligned your spirit in such a way that what from the outside looks like generosity and courageousness, from your experience just feels like normal. That's where you got to get to. Because otherwise, if you're doing it, if you're thinking of yourself as doing charitable deeds, as charity, as like offsetting something else, which is so often the case with charity, it's like only rich people, like rich people are publicly doing these charitable deeds as a sort of like mental cognitive dissonance reliever to offset the exploitation that they kind of subconsciously know that they're engaging in order to accrue wealth. Then you're still doing net harm to the world. And anyways, also, if you're doing, even if you're let's say, even if you're not doing something else that's exploitative or harmful, but still you just are doing actions and thinking of them as being good, there's a pretty good likelihood that you're doing it in a way that's unsustainable, because it requires a certain like energy of resistance on your part. Like if you feel like you're resisting your nature in order to do good things, then it's like that's a kind of expenditure of energy, and at the point that that energy becomes totally expended, then you're going to like fall back into acting out your nature. that might be greed or, you know, your normal base instincts. So it's like, how do you fundamentally transform your nature? I mean, I think that's like kind of about like, you have to realize the illusory nature of yourself, the illusory nature of what it is that you defend and you feed, what it is that feels threatened. And so you have to delve into the emptiness that underlies that stuff. And how do you do that? It's like, look at the pain that's in your life. Because the pain is like little fissures of the emptiness, like coming up to the surface. You might mentally be attributing this pain towards some outside person or some outside situation, but it is actually a manifestation.
Come up on your left, man.
Thanks. It's actually a manifestation of your own, of the emptiness that underlies all of your structures of identity. So don't shy away from that pain. Don't reduce it by attributing it to someone or something outside of yourself. But see it for what it is, which is a little crack in the structure of what you think is the self. And just go ahead and look at that crack and just like pry it right open and go inside of it. And experience the absence of self, which is uncomfortable and painful and could be, I don't know, could be really intense. It could be this horrible experience, but you know, sometimes it has to be this like horribly painful experience. But then you move through that. You don't run away from it. You don't cover it up with drugs or alcohol or media. You move through it. And then you realize that the emptiness is no other than a supreme fullness. It's a place where you realize divinity. And when you do that, that's how you can fundamentally transform your orientation to the world. Into one that's that's just very naturally about giving as much as you can. And then it's like, it's not even, you don't even experience it as giving, because to talk about giving implies that you are a separate self from who you are giving something to. But once you realize that you're fundamentally the same, you're merely like different localities of the same consciousness, then it's not really giving, it's just the natural thing to do. It's like taking care of yourself, where taking care of somebody else becomes the same as taking care of yourself. And it's not about maintaining an image of being kind and generous. That becomes totally irrelevant. I think it's safe to say that the ills of the world are, like, the evil in the world is created by this avoidance of that emptiness, of the running away from it, the overconsumption that results in pollution, the bigotry, which is a kind of like harsh, a kind of like overblown defensiveness of a certain identity group that feels like irrationally threatened by anyone who's not in that identity group. The fighting over resources. Even just like all little interpersonal cruelties is like due to people displacing their own emptiness, or trying to. it's hard because, like, sometimes it's hard to imagine the fullness that can be experienced. When we kind of give up ourselves. It's hard to imagine it when it's not there. So I think, like, maybe a really important function of cultural expression, of art and music and so forth, and of media even, is to give a little taste of the possibility of the spiritual fullness that one can potentially experience in life. In the absence of the grasping and defensive sort of behavior that we have this tendency to do. But you don't give, hopefully not to a romantic figure, hopefully not an illusory image of what it can be like. Because sure, it involves difficulty to get there. I mean, even if you're there, it's like it can look like difficulty. It's not easy in the sense that we think of things as being easy. You might still have to continue to, at times, experience pain and emptiness. Or just like hardship, or like, I don't know. But it's like getting to a place where there's a natural fullness always coming through you, so that like hardship is not an expenditure of energy. And it, like, in that way, it's like it's questionable whether one would still call it hardship, or whether one would still call it pain, or whether one would call it suffering. You probably would not call it suffering. But it's like, at that point, it's like so insignificant, because it's like you're connected to a kind of wholeness where what would otherwise be perceived as difficulty is just a natural aspect of the wholeness that you are. So like, I guess in some ways, like, that could be said to cover it all. That is, the practice of not hiding, running away from, sweeping under the rug all the pains and discomforts. But always looking for their deeper causes until you get to the deepest cause of all, which is like the general emptiness of reality. And then once you can accept that and experience that fully, you move through that, and like, it's not just emptiness, it's also this profound fullness at the same time. So it's like, you know, that can be applied to all sorts of stuff. Like, you could apply that to the choices of what sorts of YouTube video that you watch. Like, what types of YouTube videos feel like stimulating and entertaining on the surface, but beneath that you feel a sort of like discomfort, or you have this kind of guilty feeling of watching something because, you know, it's not like really helping or enriching you in any way. But is there other stuff on YouTube that you could choose to watch that might contribute you know, that might actually fortify your spirit a little bit, that might have a calming effect on your mind, maybe you're learning something useful, something that would stimulate deeper insights than you have had so far, or so, I don't know, or that might strengthen the deep insights that you have had, and keep reminding you of them. There's media out there that can serve to keep reminding you of essential truths. That we tend to forget. Something that you might have, a kind of truth that you might find has been within you all along. It doesn't seem so much as like a learning something new as a realization that you knew something profound all along. but you sort of forgot about it, or it just got a little bit covered over with more superficial stuff. We start worrying about less important stuff sometimes, and that kind of just distracts us from the fundamental truth that compels us to act righteously. So I tend to listen to, like, there's like a few podcasts that I listen to, and I like watching lectures on philosophy and spirituality and science, psychology, a lot of different subjects. And then, of course, you got the choice whether to be watching YouTube or not. Alright, camera was off for a moment. Not sure why. Let me make sure. I hope this battery pack is working. I hope we didn't lose too much, if anything. Anyhow, I was talking about how if you have accustomed your mind to seeking instant gratification, and most of us have at some point, because how would you really know to do otherwise unless somebody exposed you to this idea? Then it's going to be harder to do something like sit with the feeling of pain or emptiness in order to receive the real fruit that comes through that. I think Simone Weil would call this gravity again. There's a gravity towards these gratifying experiences. You know what like if I'm at a party and there's like a buffet with like tons of really sweet snacks and junk food and stuff, it's probably gonna take me a certain kind of energy to not eat the junk food that's right in front of me, because that junk food has a certain kind of gravity, or I should say the experience, the pleasurable experience of eating it has a kind of gravity. But if you can, I don't know, if you can like hold off for long enough and to be able to look through to the deeper nature of all experiences, then those things start to lose some of their gravity, actually. Like if you can get connected to this fullness that I'm talking about, that is really a fullness just of being connected to, deeply connected to reality and aware of it on an increasingly consistent basis. Then experiences start to lose their gravity, and you don't have to expend so much energy to not eat the junk food. I feel like a lot of what is on YouTube is the equivalent of junk food. Like this video, it was very difficult in the beginning. I would say about the first half of this video, we're kind of working through a sort of torpor, a sort of laxness. And then about halfway through, kind of naturally, I started to notice the sort of discomfort of that. You know, like sometimes it actually takes time to even notice a discomfort or notice a pain that's going on. It could be kind of like happening at a low level. You know, it was a sort of low level discomfort at the kind of like non-hard hitting, kind of leisurely, not very focused nature of what I was saying. And it took me like 2 hours to kind of like be like, okay, I can't just like keep going on this way. But it's just like I naturally started to inquire into like what that was, and it brought up these questions for me of like, what am I doing here? Like, what kind of good am I contributing through this video? Because something felt inadequate about it. And that kind of led to a line of inquiry, a line of explication or something that we're currently on that feels a lot more productive to me. But you know, again, it's like I am sort of committing a minor sin by calling it productive, but it's okay just like as to use that as a kind of example. Like I mean, this would be a sin if I were like kind of indulging in that, or like if the act of me like kind of calling this productive was about self-aggrandizement or adjustment of my image to my self-image to a positive one to kind of cover up any cognitive dissonance that I have. But I don't know, and maybe it could be said that that's what's happening. Who knows? I'm not sure. That's it. One interesting question is like, is to exist without cognitive dissonance one and the same as a realization of no self? Maybe not necessarily, I don't know. Maybe one can exist with a unquestioned sense of self, but not have any cognitive dissonance kind of out of ignorance or something, unless there's someone who's just like supremely innocent out there. But I kind of doubt that, because if you, I don't know, for someone to be supremely innocent, they may not be actually capable of doing good if they're not fighting against this gravity of evil. Yeah, like I was saying, you have to get to a place where you're not struggling against the gravity, because eventually you're going to fall back down. But instead you have to kind of like connect yourself with an unlimited source. But like walking and talking, sometimes when I'm not doing it, I'll kind of like, I will conceive of it as something that's hard and a chore to do and don't want to do it. And so maybe it takes me a little bit of self-determination to get over that idea and to get into the act of actually doing it. But when I'm in the act of doing it, it's like there may be you know, some form of difficulty, but like it's like that kind of difficulty that's not really difficulty, because like in this process I do feel like it connects me with the unlimited source of sort of spiritual energy, you could say. And it's not even really like energy coming through so much as it is like completing a circuit or something. I don't know, where you're just like in the pool, you know? You're in the reservoir. So like, if you're there's a thing that you kind of know you should do or something, some aspect of your life that you kind of know you should change, or some activity or some habit of yours that you know is harmful, but it's kind of intimidating or scary to change it. But I just want to tell you that that is your imagination right now. That's like your current perspective. That's kind of like the gravity of that habit controlling your mind a little bit. The fear of the work that it will take. But if you can just like kind of override that a little bit, and you only have to override it like long enough to get yourself started towards better habits, or towards like the positive change, whatever it is, you realize once you start that work that it's not that bad. And you know, like maybe like there might be some darkness that you have to confront at the beginning, but once you start doing that work of changing towards a better orientation towards the world, it's not so hard, because you'll find that it's increasingly connecting you with this fullness. It's increasingly connecting you with this reservoir. But be patient, you know, because like, look at this video. Think of all the banality that we had to wade through for the first half in order to get to this state where it seems like there's some, what's coming out now seems kind of vital. You just got to exercise patience. You don't look for instant spiritual gratification. You don't really look for gratification at all. You try to go without gratification of any sort. I mean, like, it might come and go from your life on its own accord, but you're operating on a deeper level. You know, maybe sensual pleasure or displeasure will come into your life, but you're aware of a deeper level of experience where neither of those things are to be clung to or ran away from or covered up. But maybe to some extent, actually, like, avoiding the pleasure, like, is useful sometimes. Like, you know, strategically don't place yourself in that party situation where you're going to have to expend energy to not eat the junk food. If you're in a place where, if you're in a stage where that's going to require expenditure of energy. Maybe later on you'll be in a more solidly rooted place where the junk food just has no gravity to you. But if you're in a place, you know, where like there's some form of addiction, that has a gravity on you, then you better strategically avoid entering into that gravitational field for a while. So that you can actually keep floating into emptiness, and through emptiness into fullness. so little stand of pawpaw trees up here. I've never seen any fruit on these. I always just want to check to see if there's any fruit. Can't see any from my vantage point. Be able to maintain a balance of mind when fucked up things happen. So that you can experience, you know, these difficult things as kind of surface fluctuations. But you still feel deeply moored in reality. As it doesn't like, you know, these disturbances, bad circumstances difficult events in your life, they're just these surface disturbances. They're not shaking your foundation. You can see hardship as being connected with its opposite. But you have to keep doing that on deeper and deeper levels. Because it seems like even as you grow in wisdom and you become deeper moored in reality, still an even deeper hardship that you hadn't experienced before might come, and it might feel like it's jostling your foundation. Or you might even times feel totally swept away and unmoored and lost at sea. Because a bigger wave has struck you than you've ever been struck by before. But sometimes that's kind of what is necessary to realize a greater depth. To strengthen your foundations at a deeper level. I guess, for example, like, the bigger a wave is in the ocean, the taller the wave is, the deeper will be its corresponding trough, its valley. So if you go down in that trough, in that valley that's deeper than you've been before, and it's terrifying and you feel lost, well, now's your time to familiarize with that place and start to realize that actually you are still okay there. And you can set your anchor even deeper because of the newfound depth of your hardship. And then ideally, you become so firmly anchored that it's like no matter what heights and depths come by, your perspective you can maintain a steady perspective, a steady and clear perspective. You're not being moved so drastically. by the highs and lows of life, then your perspective can remain steadier, and when it's steadier, it can be clearer.
Yeah, that's how I want
It's like the image stabilization of this camera. Getting wiser is like getting better and better image stabilization for your viewpoint of the world. When the picture isn't jumping up and down as much, then it's easier to see. Well, I'm not sure exactly how long this is because the video stopped a few times due to some kind of battery issue. But I don't really care at this point. Like at this point, I mean, the regularity of the structure is actually important overall, because that sort of, yeah, that repeating structure is something that like helps me keep a clear window onto reality. It's something that aids me in my patience. It aids me in not avoiding the pain or uncomfortable feelings, and aids me in sitting with them to move into them and move through them. So in a general sense, sticking to the structure is important. I don't want it to degrade, you know. I don't want my discipline to become kind of laissez-faire about the duration. But if I, you know, were able to get to a state where that structure weren't so necessary for me to maintain contact with these subtler mind states, then I would welcome that, and would be happy to make like maybe shorter videos or something, or different formats, different ways of using time. I think maybe expanding in that way at some point would be good. But as it stands, this structure is very beneficial. I have been sharing some of my other experiments in other media, other ways of expression with my Patreon patrons. If you are interested in that and you want to expend some energy in order for me to expend less energy, I don't know. Maybe I was gonna say you can donate to Patreon, or you can join my Patreon thing, which is patreon.com/BenjaminBennett, and that would be awesome. But on the other hand, I'm like, what if I just didn't do that? What if I didn't have a Patreon? Would I still be, would I be alright? I don't know. I'd probably feel the pressure. I'd probably feel the pressure to make a buck one way or another. Seems like it's inevitable to impose on this world one way or another, but like I was saying before, like it could be the case that my perceived need for that is illusory, or it's overblown or something, or it's not as urgent as I think it might be. I mean, it's true, it's not really urgent. It's like not like I'm destitute or anything, or like in great material need. That's definitely true. Like I could probably last a while probably last a while without income. But I guess like at some point it would come, at some point I would like kind of run out. But who knows, like maybe something would happen in there that would take care of that, you know? Like maybe I wonder if I just kind of like don't ever ask for help and don't bend to the monetization thing. Don't do the ads. Don't ask for Patreon support. And then also don't waste time working an unfulfilling job or something. I don't know, I'm getting into very relative terms here, getting confused. Like to just kind of like leave it up to fate and to go full bore. I'm not sure how crazy that would be. Like I have some sort of intuition that like something would take care of me, you know? But it's kind of like maybe that, I don't know, maybe Patreon is to take care of. Maybe you are the help.
Wait, is there a card? Wait,
Thanks.
yes.
Maybe you are the taken care of that I will attribute to fate. So thanks so much to the people that have already joined the Patreon thing. It seems like a good place to end. Thanks so much for walking and talking with me. I know it's been a lot of walking. I'm so heartened and touched by the strength of spirit that you demonstrate already by getting through this video. All right. Until next time.